welcome to Dark Natter, the podcast where we talk about pieces of dark fiction we've already talked about before in the hope that this time we aren't plagued by microphone problems. I'm John Richter.
And I'm Liam Martin.
And this is what would you call it, a bonus episode?
Pain in the ass. We've already done this, but we're back.
Massive inconvenience.
Massive inconvenience.
Yeah. But we thought we'd do it because we did Silent Hill as our second ever episode.
Yeah.
Back in those heady days of last year.
Pre-COVID.
We didn't have
was it only last year?
I think it was.
Wow.
Oh, was it the year? How long have we been doing this?
I suppose
garbage?
it would have been last year, wouldn't it?
Probably,
I don't know.
Let's say last year.
Yeah.
And we're a lot wiser. We've got a better microphone now. We sort of know
let's hope so.
Well,
it could have been Silent Hill itself.
Like manifesting.
Yeah.
Like the interference, the radio chatter that pervades the game.
I think it was a good thing.
So what you're saying is the episode we've already done was perfectly good and we should stop this right now.
Better than anything we'll ever do again.
Let's see if I can prove you wrong.
Yeah.
So we haven't bothered to listen to the old episode, so we can't remember what we said because it was ages ago.
Yeah.
So we're just going to do it again.
Well, we couldn't listen to the old one because the sound quality was so bad.
Good point.
Despite what I just said.
We couldn't listen to the old one and neither could anyone else.
No, because it wasn't great. So yeah, we've decided as a little bonus to re-record our thoughts on Silent Hill. Now, normally one of us pitches to the other.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And we decide at the end, or t'other decides at the end whether or not it gets into the
All of pain.
Ha ha ha. That was my
No, it's
laugh.
good. That was fulfilled your contractual obligation.
We've already done that with this.
So basically, how about this, right? If I do, even though it's already in, if I cock this up completely, you could drag it out and kick it out.
Yeah, okay.
Whereas if I do a good job, it can stay in. There you go, there's a bit of tension suddenly. All the listeners who are really bored, suddenly they're gripped, hooked.
And anybody who listened to the final episode of Season 1 will remember, hopefully, that somebody didn't get into the Hall of Pain.
It's true, we didn't let Lovecraft in because he was a bit of a prick.
So it can happen.
Although nobody involved in Silent Hill, to my knowledge, is a prick. I suppose we don't know him that well, do we? I've never met any of Team Silent. Konami as a collective is a massive prick, as we'll come on to. So yeah.
So maybe this won't get in.
I suppose Pyramid Head, in a way, was a bit of a prick as well. And James, a lot of the characters were horrible, really despicable, horrible, nasty people, actually.
Which brings us on to
the plot of the first game.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we take a step back?
Yeah.
And I leant back then, as I said that.
Me
and
too.
That means I'm now drifting away from the microphone. I went too far away. I'll come forward. There we go. So Silent Hill is, in effect, a video game franchise, although it has had many, 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 many spin-offs into other media and other shite. We will be focusing on the video games because at least some of them were very good.
We'll probably mention the movies.
Let's mention them now. The first movie's alright. Give it a watch. Not bad. It's got Sean Bean in it.
I think it's alright. Yeah, I like it.
It's decent. The second movie is a festering pile of rotten... you know that thing of like walking out of a movie? Like I would never do that because it's just stupid. Like you've paid for it, you sat there, just watch it, and then you can talk about it afterwards, even if you hated it. But I was so close to stomping out of that film.
Really?
Because I felt like, if you've got a beloved thing. Like Silent Hill is my favourite thing in the world, as you long known, so we bang on about it all the time. And I honestly felt like somebody had taken me favourite thing and just like, it wasn't like kicked it around and trampled on it. It was more like just fucking cocked it up, just like this is cool. Let's write a script, and they've just done it. It
wasn't good.
Just a bad film. They'd missed the point.
It was really bad.
Shite.
Yeah.
That film, just for the record, is Silent Hill Revelation, which is the most overused word in the words you put after the name of a thing. Canon,
I think you're right there. Yeah, Resident Evil, Revelations.
There's a load of revelations out there. I don't even know. I'm not even clear what the revelation was.
They were shit.
That it was really that Sean Bean was inexplicably persuaded to star in it.
Yeah, he's in it, isn't he?
I like Sean Bean.
Yeah, me too.
Shit film, and I like Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah, he's in it as well.
Yeah, bloody what's the name for the Matrix, isn't it? Carrie-Anne Moss?
Oh, yeah.
It's got... No, you wouldn't call it an all-star cast. You'd call it like an all...
You call it a star cast.
Yeah, an all cast.
Yeah.
It's got a cast. They're all washed up slightly, but still good. And yet, even they couldn't coax a tune out of that shitty implement.
So there you go. That's the end of the episode. Silent Hill is dragged out of the Hall of Pain.
No!
And kicked out. You've had your allotted time.
Wait! Let me try and recover my position by going through the original games.
Yeah.
So we've got the first game, Silent Hill.
Hang on a minute.
Oh.
When a minute ago, when you said you'd take a step back, what was that for?
I think it was just to say what Silent Hill as a franchise it was.
Okay.
It's a load of video games.
Step forward.
And some of
You can step forward.
You said but didn't Treguard used to say that in Nightmare?
Step forward.
Or was it Enter Stranger? We should do a Nightmare episode.
We should. Yeah.
We've been just for the listeners' edification. This bit of a bonus episode. We're coming back. Potentially on or around Halloween, but we haven't yet cooked up our recording schedule, and we don't have a clue what we're going to talk about.
It needs to be big.
Or
does it?
Yeah, make it an understated return, like under the radar.
It needs to be big.
But we could do a Nightmare episode.
Could be funny.
Yeah, that's unlikely. Very unlikely that would be
funny.
Hey,
we're in it.
That's my point.
Hey.
Could be educational and insightful. No, that's unlikely as well, really.
Maybe season 2, the twist should be that nothing gets into the Hall of Pain, so we do lots of shit.
Really
stuff,
crap things.
And then the final episode, one thing gets in.
So, what would be an example of really crap, dark... Silent Hill Revelation.
Silent Hill Revelation. There you go. Done. So here we go.
So we've got that episode in the can. That's this one.
Anyway,
I'll edit quite a lot of that out.
We should probably talk about this.
This video game franchise that we're here to talk about,
and talk about that now.
I should talk about Silent Hill now.
Basically, yeah. I'm going to pretty much sit this one out because no, you love Silent Hill.
I do, and let me explain why. So, first game came out in 1999. I was 16, therefore I was at peak video game, reading the magazine, dead excited about all the big new releases.
When did you lose your virginity?
After that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have a lot of pent up rage, pent up hatred of women. Yes.
We'll probably edit that as well.
Yeah, that needs to go.
Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Have you got a theory that if I hadn't been such a dweeb when I was a teenager, I might have not needed this game in my life?
Not at all. Actually, no. I was just curious.
We'll come back to this theme of pent-up sexual frustration.
We will. Anyway, I'm sorry. No more interruptions.
What was I on about?
I can't remember.
Silent Hill came out in 1999.
Yeah.
And it was off the back of the success of Resident Evil. I think Resident Evil 2 had also been out by then.
I think that came out in 98, if my memory serves.
Because that was the game that made me buy a PlayStation 1.
Oh, right.
Because I played possibly a demo of it at Dave Roberts' house. He always gets me a good old Dave Roberts. We'll get him on the show one day. And before that, I had a Mega Drive and an old crap PC. And I couldn't believe... I was absolutely astonished by the graphics on this Resident Evil 2. I couldn't believe how good they were. So I was immediately bought a PlayStation, started playing PlayStation games, read the magazine. Oh, Konami are doing a kind of Resident Evil rip-off called Silent Hill. Oh, this sounds interesting. Okay, I'll give that a go. And whereas Resident Evil is, schlock B-movie, zombie gore, bad acting, so bad it's good. It is. Resident Evil is scary. It was scary at the time, but it's daft. Mad scientists in a lab.
Yeah,
all that bollocks. Silent Hill, unbeknownst to unsuspecting public, is completely different. It's like a proper, full-blown psychological horror, Lynchian, surreal, dread factory of a game. Really, really unpleasant experience. To be honest, playing it was not fun. I could barely bring myself to play it except in short bursts because it was so fucking scary. I have a distinct memory of there's a bit in it where you go into a school and knock about around an empty school that's devoid of humans and there's some weird monsters in it. And then you have to solve a puzzle that leads you up to the clock tower, and there's nothing up there. And I spent like a good, I don't know, half an hour trying to, what am I missing? What? There can't be nothing up here. This is the only place in the game I've not been. And eventually I just kind of, okay, I give up. I'll walk down. Maybe I've missed something elsewhere. And actually, it was correct that there's nothing in the watchtower, because the point is, when you re-emerge, the school has transformed.
Yeah.
And there's corpses hanging on the walls. The monsters have trebled in number and ferocity. There's all, rust and blood smearing the place. And it was just a horrifying, oh my God, the place that I was familiar with and that has changed.
Yeah.
The ground, I can't even trust my own senses, and it was really unsettling. But I've jumped into some specifics there without explaining the kind of high-level plot. Just to skate over it. You play as Harry Mason. He's driving with his adopted daughter, Cheryl. Cheryl? Is that Cheryl? Have you seen a little girl, short, black hair, to the seaside resort town of Silent Hill for some fucking reason? I don't know. It's meant to be nice, apparently. She's colouring in a colouring book, like creepy little kids do. And then they crash the car, or he crashes the car, because a sort of an adolescent girl figure steps out in front of the car in the darkness. He wakes up, his daughter's not in the passenger seat, so he stumbles off into the fog, mist-shrouded town in search of his missing daughter. And that's the game. It's just Harry's attempt to find his daughter. And the first thing you notice, I guess, was the graphics. The graphics at the time they blew away Resident Evil, because Resident Evil had still had those like hand-drawn backgrounds with like 3D over the top.
Which I prefer, but
interesting.
Fair enough.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think it was, maybe I hadn't had a game of this nature that had like a moving camera.
Yeah.
So it felt really cinematic and whoa, this is a new level of. And the soundtrack is the other sort of big
very good
thing.
soundtrack.
Yeah. It was Silent Hill. The games were made by a group called Team Silent. There was a small group of programmers in Konami who were cobbled together. The director was a fellow called Keiichiro Toyama. I think the creature design was Masahiro Ito, and Akira Yamaoka was the composer. And he created this, horrifying kind of industrial din, basically, like real weird noises. And it was barely even music. It was just like a racket, like a unsettling dirge, so that was great.
And you listen to this shit just now, don't you?
I have it on at work sometimes. Yeah.
You really do, don't you?
If I'm working, not on conference calls or whatever, I'm working on my spreadsheet, crunching the numbers.
So you have that weird.
I have that din on, yeah. That kind of.
Yeah. I wish we'd done this separately. You scare me. No, but no, you're right though. It sets the tone.
Oh yeah. And maybe without going too far into kind of spoiler territory, the only other thing that's definitely worth mentioning about the first game is there's a couple of things. One is the brilliant decision to use a broken radio that emits static when enemies are nearby. So Harry quickly finds that the town that's swallowed up his daughter is not normal. It's not populated by nice, helpful townsfolk. It's basically abandoned and full of weird monsters, flying pterodactyl things, weird dog creatures attacking him. It's quite, it's kind of an open world in a way. You can explore the town at your leisure. There's a few different options of where you can go. It's largely linear ultimately, but it gives you a bit of freedom. But a lot of that, you're terrified to venture outside because you'll just get attacked by these creatures emerging from the fog. But you are equipped with this broken radio. It emits the static. And that means that very often you've got, camera angle pointed, distorted at Harry's face. You can hear the radio crackling, but you can't see where the creature is. So it just heightens that tension.
you know that. I mean, that's one of the things I think a lot of good horror video games do. The sound effects are crucial because you'll hear the enemies before you see them, and I think, and that is just, that's what creates the tension, really, isn't it?
Correct. It's not, oh my god, what a scary monster. It's, oh my god, I'm terrified because where the fuck is the monster?
And what now? What now?
What's that? Huh. Radio. What's going on with that radio?
What's coming out of the fog. And there were a lot of influences that the development team drew upon. I think they were quite open about they were trying to do Western horror tropes or Western horror influences, but it was all done through almost unintentionally in a way, through that kind of Japanese take on it, which made it feel a bit weird and a bit wrong.
Like, you think you know what to expect, but because it's been done from this different kind of perspective, it isn't quite right, so it
a bit off.
Correct.
So it's sort of like one of their big influences was definitely, undoubtedly, Twin Peaks and the works of David Lynch. But because they'd made this like peaceful lakeside American town that I guess was quite heavily inspired by Twin Peaks, the town of Silent Hill, but because it's like a weird distorted version of what a typical American town might be like. So you had all the boxes were ticked, like there was an equivalent of a Burger King called Burger Queen or something. They had all the fake, but it was just all a bit wrong.
Yeah.
And then you add in the really dodgy voice acting, and the whole thing just had this like, again, almost kind of Lynchian surreal tone.
Yeah. That's I really thought of that.
You from around here? Why don't you tell me what happened?
Wait a second, I'm just a tourist. I came here for a vacation. I just got here. I don't know what happened. I'd like to find out myself.
Uh-huh.
Have you seen a little girl? Just turned 7 last month. Short, black hair. My daughter.
Sorry. The only person I've seen in this town is you.
Where is everybody?
I'd tell you if I knew, believe me. But from what I can tell, something bizarre's going on.
And other influences as well. Stephen King was one of their influences. I think they actually reference it. They've got like red rum is written on the garage door in the game in blood, just as a little Easter egg. I think they named the streets of the town after various famous horror writers. So you've got like a Bachman Road and I can't think of any others.
Yeah, that's true. It's
quite cool.
Yeah.
And then the first game also establishes this situation whereby the town, due to a tragic incident that has occurred in the town is in effect able to manifest people's own internal demons, essentially. And in the first game, it's all about Harry is drawn into this tragic backstory and this plot involving a cult and a horribly mutilated girl, and she's kind of the source of all these monsters and all this monstrous imagery. And that's fine. It was a bit daft story. But then the second game, which is generally regarded as kind of the masterpiece of the...
Yeah.
And because it's amazing... That game just binned off all the backstory about the cult and, who cares why Silent Hill is like it is. It set out to just tell the story of a man who goes to the town because he receives a letter from his dead wife.
Yeah. She's
been dead for 3 years of an unspecified terminal illness. But then she writes to him to say,
in my restless dreams, I see that town. Silent Hill. You promised you'd take me there again someday. But you never did. Well, I'm alone there now. In our special place. Waiting for you.
I got a letter. name on the envelope said Mary. My wife's name. It's ridiculous. Couldn't possibly be true. That's what I keep telling myself. A dead person can't write a letter. Mary died of that damn disease 3 years ago. So then, why am I looking for her? Our special place. What could she mean? This whole town was our special place. Does she mean the park on the lake? We spent the whole day there. Just the two of us, staring at the water. Could Mary really be there? Is she really alive? Waiting for me?
So the poor, misbegotten James Sunderland heads to the town, knowing that it's crazy. This letter can't possibly have come from his dead wife because she's dead, but what else is he going to do in his grief-stricken state?
Yeah.
And that game came out in 2001 and was a PS2 game.
Yeah.
And the graphics, again, like they still hold up today. I played it the other week and it still looks good to me now.
Yeah, it was a big step up, wasn't it, from the original? Because the original used sort of fogged over a lot of areas to kind of make up for it couldn't show too much. And they kind of worked for it, but the second one just opens it up a little bit more. And
yeah, it still uses the fog effect.
Yeah, but you can it's just a bit clearer now.
Definitely.
And
bigger, more better realised version of the town. That was a genius idea, though, to mask the PS1's processor shortcomings by having the whole city completely swathed in fog.
Yeah.
Because it was much... Imagine if it hadn't had the fog, it wouldn't have been anywhere near as good. And that was the Stephen... Is it Stephen King book, The Mist?
Yeah.
That was one of the influences from the first game that I forgot to mention. That's definitely... Silent Hill was heavily influenced by that book and film, The Mist. And yeah, the second one just charts James Sunderland's odyssey through the town. He meets a sort of a curvy, dare I say, kind of slutty lookalike of his dead wife, who's adamant that she's never met him before and doesn't know who his wife is. Yeah. He meets a really disturbed, kind of agitated young woman who's talking about suicide. He meets a big, fat, angry guy who's he's like a college dropout, kind of sort of loafer who's like he's all bitter because everyone picks on him for his size.
What's his name again?
Eddie.
Eddie, that's it.
Eddie Dombrowski.
And he also meets probably the most iconic baddie in the series today, who Konami still use now. Actually, I've just been playing a new Bomberman game.
Oh, yeah?
And it's got like various different costumes, and because it's Konami, obviously, and one of them is a little pyramid head Bomberman.
It's so weird that they... Konami
did I even say it's Pyramid Head, by the way?
Oh yeah, so, good point. Yeah, he's in, and the reason he only plays in one game is because he's meant to be a unique to James Sunderland manifestation of James's, let's say, trauma, to try and keep the spoilers away again. So it doesn't make sense for him to appear in any other story other than James Sunderland's own personal private hell. And yet Konami have fucking trotted him out all over. They've had Pyramid Head in bloody sports games and... Dead by Daylight, he's got a cameo in that now, and
in fairness,
in the film,
as long as they haven't, brought him out for another Silent Hill game, it's no big deal, is it?
And I suppose the frustration with me, it's not so much, you can't possibly use Pyramid Head in this way. It's more, I don't get why Konami recognise that Silent Hill has got clout and people are interested in it, so they keep referencing it and using it in modern spin-offs. But don't make another game. They haven't made a game for 8 years.
Although rumours
circulating,
that we could be getting a new one, perhaps even by the time this drops.
I might jump ahead to that then, to be honest. So yeah, Silent Hill 1, ace. Silent Hill 2, amazing. We'll whiz over the other games in a minute, but to jump to present day quickly. We haven't had a proper canonical Silent Hill game since 2012, when Silent Hill Downpour came out, which was back on the PS3. We've had a whole console generation. Yeah. Now, we did get the game PT, which was the playable teaser for the definitely was going to happen until it got ruined project, Silent Hills, which was where Konami, this was 2014 it came out, the teaser, they brought in Hideo Kojima, the big famous game developer of Metal Gear Solid and Death Stranding. He had Guillermo del Toro signed up, Norman Reedus was on board, and then Konami inexplicably canned the project. And that demo for me is arguably the best game on the PS4. Maybe not the best, but one of the best. It
is. I would say, without question, it is the scariest video game I've ever played.
Yeah, brilliant concept. That for those who haven't played it, please do play it. Although it's difficult to get your hands on.
Yeah,
because
you can't.
Konami's.
You've either got it or you ain't, because you ain't going to be able to download it now. But
yeah, if you downloaded it at the time, basically come to my flat and I'll happily
don't do it.
Come to my flat and have your worst fears manifested in the shape of an annoying, over-enthusiastic bald bloke telling you how good Silent Hill is. The whole game is you just go through a hallway, in one door, round the corner, past the locked front door, through the door at the other end, which ostensibly would lead into, I don't know, the garage, but instead you just emerge into the hallway again.
So it's like a never-ending loop.
But each time the hallway subtly changes, and it might just be a strange noise, or a door that was open is now shut, or it might be a talking fetus in the bathroom sink.
It could be.
You got fired, so you drowned your sorrows in booze. She had to get a part-time job working a grocery store cash register. Only reason she could earn a wage at all is the manager liked how she looked in a skirt. You remember, right? Exactly 10 months back.
Which again, very Lynchian. Very
like
what's that film?
Eraserhead,
yeah.
And what else happens? There's all manner of. There's that bit when I think something falls from the upper level of the house, which you can't access. But if you look up, you could just catch a glimpse of this disfigured woman in the shadows stepping backwards away.
Yeah, it's horrible, yeah.
Brilliant stuff.
I remember playing it, and there are some sort of jump scares in it from this said sort of hideous woman. And I remember knowing that she was behind me, my character, and I think I could have just carried on walking and I would have gone through the loop again. But it was like I was there for kind of like 20 seconds just thinking I don't want to turn around.
Because the radio says it, doesn't it? The radio goes, look behind you, look behind you. And it's like all that kind of, what's the word? Normal radio broadcast is interrupted by what sounds like messages direct to you, the player.
And I just remember turning around and it's like we played it actually, didn't we, for... the ill-fated Dark Natter YouTube channel, and even then we've played it so many times we didn't want to be like the stereotypical YouTube,
over the top reactions, pretending to be scared.
But when we saw, what's her name again?
Lisa.
When we came across Lisa, we both shrieked,
shit ourselves, because it's
it
really scary.
Yeah.
I've had so many people like play that, and I've got them with that bit, and just it's so funny. And normally, we wouldn't advocate jump scares as being a good approach to horror. It's about a slow build sense of dread, not one-off jump scares. But the point is that game has got one jump scare, and it's brilliantly deployed, and you don't know when it's going to happen. It's not every 2 minutes, boo, 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 like a lot of we're slagging off Silent Hill Revelation. That's exactly what that film is like. Just tries to scare you every 30 seconds, and it just ends up being boring and draining.
And if anything, that jump scare in PT it just puts you on edge so much because you don't want it to happen again.
Correct.
So you go through it even slower, or maybe you speed up because you just want to. It just puts you on.
I remember rushing through the hallway. Yeah. I'm desperate to get to the end because I can't. I'm so terrified of what's going to happen. But of course, getting to the end, your reward is do it again. So it's like it doesn't let up. It's you
don't want to be there, but you have to be there
because you can't. That's the only way to get out of there.
Yeah, it's
brilliant,
really good.
But then Konami, who we will keep criticising throughout this because they've cocked up this franchise over the years. They, for whatever reason, canned the project, fell out with Hideo Kojima, he left, set up his own studio. Now, interesting sort of coda to this story is the game Death Stranding was spawned from the remnants of Silent Hills, because a very similar team worked on it, Guillermo del Toro's in it, Norman Reedus. And I don't like Death Stranding.
No.
I think it's a bit shit.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of left wondering if, like, did Konami get it right? And we're left with this perfect little short demo game. And actually the real full-blown project might have fallen into some of Kojima's, dare I say, his kind of his common flaws of, you know, over-exposition, ludicrous plot, poorly developed characters, crap script.
Overindulgent.
Oh, he's completely. Yeah.
So you're kind of right. It's sort of actually the perfect
outcome in a weird way.
Although we would have liked to have,
I know, at least
seen what they
coughed up, because that demo is amazing. But as you said, rumours are doing the rounds that the PS5, the imminent new console, new generation, is going to have a Silent Hill game on it. And it's, you know, you've got apparently quite credible sources have kind of leaked this. There's not been any announcement or any game footage at the time of recording. By the time this is released, maybe there will be. Fingers crossed. But who knows what it's going to... I mean, the PT was downloaded like over 1 million times, several million, I think. So there's clearly an appetite for this game. So I can't really understand, for a new Silent Hill game, I can't really understand how it makes economic sense to Konami to not make one.
Well, I think Konami seem to be concentrating more on kind of like mobile gaming, and because it's that thing where a lot of game publishers aren't happy anymore just making a game. They want
all the extra revenue streams and all the microtransactional shit. Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to do with something like Silent. That's not to say they won't do it, and this isn't true. Although rumour has it Sony are involved. Sony is involved in this.
I've heard that Sony are trying to get the rights off them, which would be, to me, that would be the perfect outcome, that the franchise gets to live on under, dare I say, a better kind of custodian than Konami has sadly become.
So whether they just think it's a risk, because obviously games cost a hell of a lot to make, and for kind of one-off payment, and if it doesn't quite sell as many units, you know, will they get their money back?
In other words,
because horror is a niche genre.
It is, and it's even at its peak, the games didn't sell. They weren't, you know, world beaters.
Yeah,
they were always quite cult kind of. I mean, even the reviews at the time of Silent Hill 2 were sort of, if you look back, they were like 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's become this revered hot classic that is a lot. You know, if you look at any video game top 10 horror games of all time, it always Silent Hill 2 is number one on every single list.
Yeah.
You might get the odd one that tries to have it that Resident Evil is number one, which, you know, Resident Evil's good.
Yeah, well, I'm a fan, but I agree. I think
it's generally regarded now as a masterpiece, even though it sort of wasn't at the time, maybe.
Yeah.
But so hopefully Konami or Sony, between them, they can cobble something together to appease me.
Yeah, because I think if Sony did stump up some cash, then obviously it reduces the risk from Konami's perspective. Point. So
I guess it's cheap. It's a viable strategy for them is to just roll the franchise out for low cost cameos in things without investing in a full blown video game development. Yeah, that makes sense. That's quite helpful. It's almost like you work in the industry and you know how it works.
Well, I do, but I wouldn't go that far.
Hey.
So
maybe if we quickly flash back to the origins of the game, Team Silent basically stuck around for 4 games before those dicks at Konami disbanded the team and it outsourced it to other developers. We've talked about Silent Hill 1 and 2. Silent Hill 3 is also regarded very positively by the fan base. I think it's a bit overrated.
I always said I think it's got some of the best kind of monsters in the series, but it's a little bit, I wouldn't say generic, but a bit...
It goes back to the old first game and all the cult and all the... It's almost like it's a bit... It's sort
by
of,
the numbers, almost, I would
say. It felt like a safe... we can't really think of another idea to compete with. Silent Hill 2 was a proper adult game, and we'd never really had one, really. We'd had gory games, but that's not the same as a grown-up game. Silent Hill 2 was talking about grief, loss, bereavement, child abuse, depression, the breakdown of a marriage due to terminal illness. Silent Hill 3, you're back to like melodrama, young girl escaping from a cult who's trying to give birth to a demon.
I mean, it's definitely, I think, quite a scary, frightening game, but I agree, it's sort of, it's just, it could almost be any horror game.
Yes.
It doesn't really need to be. It's Silent Hill game because it's called Silent Hill 3, and it does kind of loosely follow on, but you could kind of strip that away and it could just be any horror game, really. But it's still good, but...
And people often... I've heard some people say it's their favourite game in the series. Slightly baffled by that, but everyone is entitled to their opinion. And actually, I also am a bit against the grain on Silent Hill 4.
Well, I was going to say,
a lot of people view that as, they lost their way a bit and they tried some new things and they didn't quite work. I think it's like a massive return to form.
I completely agree with you. I remember playing, I think I played 3 and 4 back to back.
Yeah.
And, I thought 4 was really, really good. I do not understand where the kind of, I'm going to say hate comes from. Maybe it wasn't hate, but you're right. There seems to be this kind of common...
The general consensus is sort of 6 or 7 out of 10 kind of level.
It's just, it's kind of losing its way a bit. But no, I thought it was great.
Real innovation. They had those creepy floating ghosts that were like basically like a corpse.
Yeah, they were horrible.
Brilliant. It's like, if you imagine a person that's been suspended on a meat hook, maybe a foot off the floor... Imagine what that would look like. They're kind of hanging with their arms hanging down and their head hanging down. Then take the meat hook away, but just leave them floating in midair, and then just have that floating thing just follow you at quite high speed around across the room.
And tell him the concept of the game.
Brilliant. It's a man called Henry.
It's called Silent Hill 4 The Room, by the way. So The Room.
And Henry wakes up one day in his apartment where he lives on his own.
A room, if you will.
Although actually it's several rooms, isn't it?
It is.
So they've got it's ruined. They've got it wrong.
Anyway,
Silent Hill 4, the set of rooms. And his front door is nailed, chained shut. There's like metal, chains across it, padlocks, so he can't get out of his front door. And he can't seem to break the glass on his windows, and he can't open the windows, and he can't seem to attract anyone's attention, no matter how much he hammers on them. So he's just trapped in his room. And there's a message slid under the door, isn't there, that says, "Don't go out."
I remember you
Walter.
did something similar to me when I stayed at your flat.
Oh, did
you slid a message under the door when you were going out to work in the morning, yeah.
So did it say, "Don't go out, Walter"?
No, I don't think it said that. I think it said, "I've gone to work."
I've gone to work, treat yourself to a coffee, Walter.
Yeah, I think it said Walter there.
I hope so. I really hope I did that. I should have. And so the initial stage of the game is just a first person knocking about in Henry's apartment, opening the fridge, turn the telly on, it's all static, turn the radio on. You can make a phone call to like the local, pizzeria or something. It's like all quite, not that bad, apart from that you're trapped in it. And there's a peephole, isn't there, to his neighbour's apartment where a pretty woman lives. So that's a bit creepy. And it's like, is Henry a bit of a pervert? Or am I a pervert? Because I'm the one looking. So that was a bit weird. And then the game goes down the usual Silent Hill surreal bonkers route when a big hole appears in the bathroom. And if you crawl through the hole, Henry does get out into the world, but a distorted Silent Hill twisted parody of the world instead of the normal one. And so people moan because you play through a series of levels and then you play through the same levels again. But so the way it works is the first time you play through a set of locations, you encounter a character in each one who then ends up meeting a grisly end. Yeah. And the character might be a nice person, a horrible person, there's a mentally ill man in one of them. And then when you go through it the second time, the dead versions of them have reappeared as in ghostly form, and they're terrifying. You're being one of them's a guy. It's like a ghost that's on fire, and he's just screaming in pain and torment as he's pursuing you through the level. I thought it was brilliant. And then the plot's ludicrous, but kind of interesting as well.
Yeah.
It's all about a previous occupant of the apartment who believed that the apartment was his own mother, which is Walter, the serial killer Walter Sullivan, who brilliantly was he was mentioned in Silent Hill 2, just as a little throwaway, like a newspaper article on the floor.
Oh, nice.
So it's whether they even had the idea back then.
Maybe, yeah.
Took them a few years to... And so you've got the Yamaoka soundtrack, you've got the brilliant creature design, you've got... I think Silent Hill 4 is like
I definitely think
masterpiece.
it's underrated, yeah.
Love it.
Doesn't get any... Nobody mentioned it, do they?
No, it's not in the... It's all, the discussion is all, Silent Hill 2 and 3 were brilliant.
Yeah.
One's all right for
One
PlayStation
you
1
mentioned
game.
because
Yeah.
it's the first, and
Yeah.
and then a kind of conversation ends there with and then it got shit.
I know. And
It's not true.
Whereas after 4, because Team Silent were disbanded, it kind of did. Well, I still think a lot of the subsequent games have got their moments, but the next game on the list was Silent Hill Origins, and straight away you're into the... If Revelations is the most overused suffix, then Origins is maybe the second. Rubbish. It's my least favourite Silent Hill game, Origins. It retcons the plot. It doesn't quite fit with the story. We're back to the blooming cult again. It's got a boring main character, that truck driver, Travis.
Wait, is that the one that was originally on PSP?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've got it on PS2, I think.
Yeah.
But it's not good, in my opinion. Then you've got... next up was Silent Hill.
I like his name, though. Was it Travis O'Grady?
Travis, a generic O trucker. Then it was Silent Hill Homecoming, which was the PS3 debut.
Yeah.
Which is largely viewed as shite, and had loads of bugs and glitches in it. But I think it's got a couple of decent ideas in its defence. I think there's a bit where, like, you walk through a graveyard and you see this bloke just digging up graves, and what's that? And then later you're trying to find the town's mayor, and someone's like, you'll probably find him in the graveyard digging up the graves. So that guy's the mayor? Oh shit.
That's good, I like that.
Funny, isn't it? But not that good a game. Bit of cheesy American. It's got that
I never played it, actually.
Oh, did you not?
No, I didn't.
It's got a bit in it where it just weirdly is just... Remember Hostel? That movie, all the torture porn movies? It's just got a bit of that, like, ripped off of Hostel in it, where he's like, this woman's trying to, like, drill him in the kneecaps, and he has to, like, fight her off.
Oh, wow.
It's all right. Yeah. It's just not completely out of place in a Silent Hill game, you know? Then there was Silent Hill Shattered Memories on the Nintendo Wii.
Now, I did play that, and I thought that was kind of...
Me too.
It was a little bit gimmicky, but... Because basically that one... So the Wii, if you remember, you had the Wii remotes, which you could use kind of motion controls, and it had the built-in microphone, so you could use it like... picking up a phone.
Yeah, he would phone you up, creepy phone calls.
Yeah.
Use it as a torch.
Pointing it as a torch.
Dissect a frog with it in one bit of the game.
So maybe a little bit gimmicky, but wasn't that kind of a remake of the...
It was a reimagining of the
first game.
And it had that good thing where in between all the scenes you were being psychoanalysed by the world's creepiest psychiatrist. But funny and interesting. Like, this game analyses you as you play it.
That's right,
that kind of stuff.
And did it have the thing like 64% of people chose that answer, or am I thinking of a different game?
I don't know if it told you.
I'm thinking of
Catherine.
No, that one as well.
Hey, we should do the Catherine was good.
Idea, no, but I do remember the.
And the reason that when I said a reimagining, there's the guy at that point, the sort of, I guess, Konami's kind of lead on the franchise was a fella called Tom Hewlett, and there's just a little weird side story really with him. So he sort of, I guess, handled the franchise for a few years as it entered its period of decline. Mm-hmm. I think, this is just my own assessment of what I've read online and so on, that he was doing his best and he really loved the franchise and he tried hard and it was just up against it because the corporate environment was a nightmare. But he was almost became like a figure of hate in the Silent Hill community for a few years. And there's a YouTube channel called Twin Perfect, which still is going, albeit...
I think we spoke about that on the
original
Twin Peaks episode.
So Rossiter, who... Yes, we did, because he did that amazing analysis video of Twin Peaks. So he also has got a thing called The Real Silent Hill Experience, which is like a series of videos about Silent Hill, going back years, like he's dead young in the first one. Yeah. Really, really good. Highly recommended. Watch all them. Much better analysis than this garbage that you listen to now. But he and his then mate, who I'm not sure if they fell out, and the other guy from Twin Perfect isn't... I don't know if I've I sort of got the impression they weren't on speaking terms anymore. I might have got that wrong. Anyway, they were quite vocally critical, quite nasty about Hewlett.
Oh, right.
And I think he wrote them into a game. So in Silent Hill Book of Memories, which we'll come to as the last one, they're on it like in an item description.
Oh, wow.
It was just really funny, so because he must have been aware that they were just slating him online.
Oh.
And I think the other guy, the one who's left, actually publicly apologised to Hewlett for what they said about him.
Really?
So it was all a bit bitter and acrimonious and a bit awkward, but I think he was maybe a bit unfairly the fall guy.
Well, certainly what we know about Konami now, it sounds like he probably did have a hard time.
Correct.
Yeah.
So now the reason he got slagged off, it wasn't so much Shattered Memories, because generally that's regarded as decent.
Yeah.
It's the next few. So you had the HD collection, which was a re-release of Silent Hill 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Konami had lost the source code, so they had to cobble it together from a beta version. They fucked it up, so the game's got loads of glitches and errors.
And also, it's 2 and 3. What about 4? What about 1? Like, yeah.
Just rubbish. You got the game Downpour the same year. So,
was that another handheld game?
No, I don't think Downpour was.
No.
Downpour,
Okay.
I think, was just a full-blown PS3 game. But that's when it started. It's a bit cheesy and American. It's full of bugs. They had to get a different composer in, so it's the first time Akira Yamaoka's iconic music isn't in the game. The guy who composed it is Daniel Licht, who I think is really good, and that he's dead now. He died, that guy. Yeah, quite sad. So that's worth digging out as a soundtrack if you wanted to give it a listen. But that game wasn't very well received. And then also,
what's it about?
Murphy Pendleton is a prisoner. He's a generic generic prisoner man.
I do remember the setup. Yeah,
but basically, he escapes. He's meant to be getting transported between jails, and he escapes or something. But then he ends up in Silent Hill, and there's revelations about his dark past,
about his origins,
revelations about his origins. Very good. Silent Hill origin revelations, and it's very Silent Hill by numbers kind of plot.
Yeah.
So Hewlett gets a bit slagged off for that, and then Book of Memories, that was the PSP one, and that's not even. It's not like a horror sort of psychological horror game. It's a dungeon crawler.
Yeah, right.
Which is, to be fair, I have never played it. I have not. That is part of the canon that I've not bothered to acquire because it's meant to be rubbish. It's the wrong genre, isn't it? It's not a Silent Hill game. So that came out. So I think his name was just associated with this like series of crap things.
Yeah.
And then that was it. Other than PT, we haven't had anything from Silent Hill since 2012. Konami basically just kind of parked the franchise for whatever reason.
So I suppose normally about this time we would kind of, whoever was pitching would make one final kind of
summary.
To kind of, cement that place in the Hall of Pain.
I guess my attempt at that would be to focus on the high points of the series manifested in Silent Hill 2. Why is that game brilliant? It's terrifyingly scary, was and still is. Graphically amazing, was and still is. It's properly unique and surreal and weird, and it's that combination of kind of Japanese take on Lynchian horror mixed with slightly ropey voice acting, mixed with just a truly unique, disturbing storyline. Yeah. Amazing creature design by Masahiro Ito, including the iconic pyramid head, properly adult issues, child abuse, grief, bereavement, not cheesy B-movie schlock. And it still holds up as not so much a gaming experience, but more of a kind of a true psychological horror experience.
Where is it? Plug John Richter stuff.
You're just looking at my show notes.
Okay, so does it deserve a play? Well, should it stay in the Hall of Pain? No.
Wow. Okay.
No.
Help me out.
I'm trying to think of some funny shit to say. Of course it should. It's it's another one of those. We've had so many with Halloween, Terminator, where the strength of the original entries is so strong that you can't leave it out. iconic.
And it's kind of enduring as well, even though we haven't had a proper one for 8 years. It's still in the conversation, isn't it? People still talk about Silent Hill. It's still like I follow #Silent Hill on Instagram, and there's just daily stuff.
They would talk about it because
that's a good point, actually. I suppose.
But no, you're right. When you, as you said earlier on, when you come up with like a top 10 horror games list,
it's there.
It's still there. It's just such a shame that you can't really get these games anymore. You know, a lot of older games have been kind of ported, remastered, and
like the if you wanted to play Silent Hill 2, don't, for the love of God, don't get the HD collection. You need to get your hands on an original PS2 and the original copy to get the proper experience.
It's not easy to get the proper experience, but it's well worth it if you can.
Yeah,
and yeah, absolutely, Hall of Pain, one of the original, one of the best.
Oh yeah. And hopefully this time we haven't had a load of clicky microphone shenanigans. But we won't know that until we stop and listen to it, will we?
We won't.
And we won't be able to do that until I stop talking, will we?
You won't.
I should probably shut up then.
You should.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, I will then.
So this has been a special bonus episode. Thank you for joining us. Yeah.
Hope it's whetted your appetite for a new series.
It's certainly whetted mine.
Yeah, you said that in a real, and you're looking at me in quite a disturbing... This has gone a bit homoerotic, hasn't it? Let's cut this.
I've just wet myself.
Oh, see, right. You've just you've had an accident.
I've soiled myself.
We'll sort you out. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe we should say to people, if you want to recommend something or request something for Series 2, then drop us a line. We have various means of being contacted, Twitter being one of them, where we are at @dark_natter.
Yeah.
Instagram.
Couldn't get Dark Natter.
Someone else's.
Yeah, weirdly.
That is weird. I wonder. We should look them up, shouldn't we?
Maybe.
Maybe there's a better podcast out there.
Could be.
Instagram, got @DarkNatterPodcast.
Never use it.
No, we don't post it on that for ages, have we? That one's probably going to go the way of the YouTube channel.
Probably. Although, having said that, check out the YouTube channel for a bit of PT.
And we did Bloodborne as well, didn't we?
Relating to this episode.
Oh, yeah.
PT, yeah.
Good point, yeah, that's true.
Fucking it.
We did Alien Isolation.
Oh, God.
That was shit. Well, it's a good game, but it was just too hard, that bit.
But yeah, we did do PT start to finish.
We did.
You can hear us screaming like
wimps.
Wimps, yeah.
We've got an email address.
We have.
darknatterpodcast@gmail.com.
We have.
I normally do this. So what normally happens is we normally sign off and then I go home and edit everything and do it all and I record this little outro.
Oh, right.
And I just thought for a laugh I would record it now with you.
I like it. Plug your shit then.
Oh yeah. So I also normally plug my own books. You're quite right.
Can I plug them?
Please do.
If you have any sense, do not buy any of John Richter's books.
You mean because they might be so terrifying and disturbing that you might never recover?
Because they're so terrifying and disturbing that you might not recover. No, but you should. They are very good.
Just Google John Richter, Jon. There's no H in it. There is an H in Richter because that's how it's spelt. Look me up on Amazon. I've got some books, some horror ones, crime ones.
Quite a few now.
Got cyberpunk, but I've got 6 books.
Wow.
I've got a 7th one written. It's in the editing stages. It's like, imagine if Die Hard was set in the future with robots during the COVID lockdown.
Ah.
That's the pitch for...
You had me at Die Hard. Yeah.
Like Die Hard, but not as good.
No, I can't wait to read it.
Well, watch this space. Yeah. Read this space.
I will.
Listen to this space.
I will.
And we will see you again in however long it is between this coming out and Halloween.
Not long.
Good point. Shit, we better get recording.
We better add.
Should we do another one now?
Let's do it.
I thought you'd be like, God, no. We still haven't got an outro either.
No, just finish it.
Yeah, okay. Sake. Done. See ya.
Bye.
hello, John again. We've kind of already covered all the outro stuff, but I didn't want to just cut off abruptly without leaving you with a final snippet of some of Akira Yamaoka's incredible, amazing, tragic, sad, melancholy music. This one is my favourite piece from my favourite game in the series, so it's the theme of Laura Reprise? Still don't know how you say that. So yeah, feast your ears on this and feel really sad. But no need for the sadness to linger, because very soon Dark Natter will be back for a second series of me and Liam analysing, dissecting, discussing some more of your favourite works of dark fiction, as well as a few special guests sprinkled here and there. So watch this space. We're aiming to be back to seeing Halloween in style. Until then, look after yourselves, and we need an outro. Goodbye.